We're live.
Okay, we'll call the March 30th, 2022 special call council meeting for the city of Lake City to order. If everyone would stand for the pledge of allegiance or remain standing for the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to conduct the business of our community. We ask for your guidance in our deliberations. We ask that what we do is for the betterment of our community and our citizens. We ask you to look after our first responders and our troops and our citizens. In your name we pray. Amen. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Jefferson.
Here.
Mr. Sampson.
Here.
Mayor Witt.
Here.
Mr. Dial.
Here.
Mr. Coverline.
Here.
Chief Butler.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council. That is to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is meeting. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move, Mayor. Second.
Motion second to approve the agenda is published. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, orientation, Ms. Norlock.
She may not know she's ready.
Ms. Norlock, you ready?
I am the Mayor Witt. How are you this morning?
Hold on. What's going on? Let's see, screen, audio. Hold on. Our audio is coming through here, not through the mic. All righty. Are you there?
I am.
All right, there we go. We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I'm also hearing I'm hearing an echo of myself.
That's going through the speakers in this.
Texting.
It's really hard to hear her.
Yeah. I'm trying to get it through the. Hold on. Go here. Room. Mute. Screen. That's, I don't know why it's not sharing the audio. Say it. Wondering. Hey Matt, the audio is only going through the computer, not through the Zoom meeting to the speaker system.
To unmute it, have it running to the speaker that runs
There should be on speaker. Check. It's unmuted. And the IT mic is not muted. Volume's on. Blue. All right, give me a moment. All right. It's saying that it's live. Let's see if. Try again.
Testing, testing, testing.
It's still going through the other. Why is it going through audio? Speaker. I'm trying to get ours live.
Can we set up a phone?
Yeah, it's. I can hit her to the phone audio. Yeah.
Can we bring a phone in here and put her on speakerphone?
Let me get Matt down.
Matt needs to maybe bring a phone and we can do a
Let me get Matt real quick.
phone audio maybe with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you connect the Logitech to the soundboard? It's not registering through. The speaker that's over here, the Logitech speaker,
Yeah, we're
not being registered to the meeting.
meeting till how they worked out.
What do you say, man?
We're gonna adjourn the meeting just for a few minutes, until he
Till he gets it fixed.
Yeah, just for a few minutes.
Okay. Unmuted volume. Alright, that is connected. She is not coming through. Why?
Testing, testing.
Testing.
How you doing?
Sweet. Settings. Microphone.
Please speak it.
I went with you and Donna Jackson last night, so Gators and Seminoles had a good time.
This is the Logitech device.
It's a good game. Q has 10 tickets, 5-5. We've been going the last couple of times. Really? 9-10.
Oh, yeah. It won't be mine.
Put my name.
Remember? Now, see, he probably had to be at Shirley's at 4 a.m. this morning to get his coffee. That's a good. Oh, yeah. Sleeping in. Whoa, it is early on.
You don't get breakfast?
I gotta take the kids to school. My wife says she needs her beauty sleep. I don't want to bother. Take care of her.
Since Jody was, in the hospital, I went out to, the restaurant out by the airport and ate Saturday morning. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, the bar.
Yeah.
It is good. Their breakfast is really good.
Got to.
Can you try again real quick?
And today's one of those great early release days that everybody loves. Yeah. I hate it.
Miss Renee, can you hear us?
They should
Okay, it's still coming through the, hold on.
get ready for school. Gotta have their own time. They don't live around the right.
Testing, testing.
Makes no sense. Just cancel the whole thing.
Still not coming through where it's supposed to.
Is Matt coming over?
Yeah, man. The device is working. It's
Let me know if you need to go
but
grab
it's
a
not, it's
phone.
coming through here, not through there.
Testing.
Let's see.
It's selected to go through that. I'm in the system. This is the whole point of you coming over here.
That's right. And Mr. Hill.
Talk now.
Testing, testing.
It's on the wrong area.
Oh, that's good.
Testing, testing.
We can hear you now.
I don't have any feedback on my end now.
You were
Hi,
calling.
Mr. Perry.
How's it going?
Hold on just a moment, okay?
Not a problem.
Audrey, if I could get someone to put Mr. Perry in a waiting room and/or, I
Yes,
don't know if you can do that, if you can put him in a waiting room.
yes.
Okay. You're on time, Troy. I just need 5 minutes with the council. Thank you.
All right. Renee, you ready?
I do not have a video on council.
Where is that? Should be sharing. Yeah, it's not allowing me to. It's got me going to YouTube and not anything else. Hold on. Shrink this. Hey Matt, it's Daniel. I have an issue over here. Okay, it's not sharing the stream for the video for the council to Renee. It's saying that the other apps are, two other apps are showing the video, so she can't see us. Okay, let me pull up the Chrome. Okay. Start virtual camera feed. All right, let's see. Okay. I started it, no, it's still not showing me. Your camera's being used. All right, I have to go to bum guard. Give me a second. I have to go to the website here. It's now beyond trust. Okay. He was over here just a moment ago, get the video up. Yes, he was. Unfortunately, Bongar's not set up on this account. That's what I'm trying to do.
Is there any additional information besides this? Oh, I see.
Same.
Making some new one. Thank you.
Welcome.
I can't get the remote session over here at the moment. What was the? I can't get the remote session to pull up over here. All right, bud. Benedetti's on his way.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, if you would like, I can go ahead and get started on my quick orientation here, reminders of things. And
good.
while they're working on our video before we bring the first candidate in.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, thank you all very much. It's nice to almost see you again. I hear you. That's a good start. And thank you for IT and quite frankly for Audrey and others that have been involved in this process. They've done just a super job. As you know, we have 3 candidates this morning that we're doing video interviews with for the city manager position. We did go back out about a month ago and do some more recruiting and brought in a few more candidates that I think are certainly worth talking to. They're excited about the opportunity. You should have a booklet that Audrey probably printed for you, similar to what we used last time. It's the resumes of everyone. It's the schedule. in the front of the booklet. Mr. Troy Perry was scheduled at, I believe, 8:45. He is in the waiting room. And we've got folks scheduled about every hour this morning. And then we have a debriefing scheduled at the end of that for about 30 minutes where we'll talk about candidates and talk about our next steps. Excuse me. You should also have a set of questions. This is the exact same set of questions we used last time. We're trying to be very consistent in our process and treat all candidates the same as we go. So you have a set of questions. We did last time, I believe, Mayor, and I suggest we do this, is that you probably welcome the candidate. I'll initially welcome them and turn them over to you, and then you welcome them as mayor and ask the first question and then rotate around with each council member asking the next question until we get to the end. And then Mayor, you, I think, typically ask the last question to wrap things up. I do want to remind everyone that there are certain questions that you cannot ask. While you can ask follow-up questions and you can ask clarification questions, you need to make sure that those types of add-on questions do not include anything related to their race, their age, their ethnicity, their national origin, religion, marital status, gender identity, disabilities, medical conditions, on and on and on. So I will be listening in on the interviews, and I have a second connection that I'll ask IT to bring in once they bring the candidate in. It says SRNA. That's just a backup connection. Should I lose the one I'm on, then I still have eyes and ears on it, and I have a colleague monitoring that for me, so we don't lose any connection to the interview. So that said, I'm going to encourage you to turn off any buzzers, alarms, phones, anything. I'm really talking to myself here. That might go off during our meetings. That might distract people. Also, I would encourage you to wait until our debriefing session for us to actually talk about candidates, because there's just a lot to process, and that's what that time is set aside for. I know it was important to at least one of our council members to know the status of candidates. In other opportunities, I asked them as recently as yesterday if they were a finalist in another job search. I do expect they're probably looking elsewhere because we have a couple that are in the market that are currently unemployed, and so I would expect them to be looking around. But the responses from all three candidates is they are not currently a finalist in any job search. And what that would mean to me is that, you know, they've been narrowed down to a specific pool of candidates that is being considered further. That said, we want to move forward quickly in our process and look at early as next Friday, April the 5th. And we'll talk about this during debriefing, for having our on-sites, which would be a Friday night gathering and a Saturday. We can do it any day, but we need to do it sooner than later. And then, of course, once we decide today what we're doing, if we're moving anyone forward, we would schedule that. We would get candidates lined up for that. And that's when we would also get release forms from them in order to do references. And then ultimately, we'll do a background check. So I just wanted to remind you of what our process is. So that is really all on my end, unless you have some questions. And I think they're still working on our video on your end so that the candidates can see you.
Yeah, we're gonna have that fixed in a minute.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm gonna have to close this Zoom meeting and open up in the application in a second, which should use both-way video at that point, but I'm getting it set up right now.
Okay. Sure, thank you.
Okay. It's just getting eaten up. Where is it? Should have installed. What's it do? There we go. Take longer to open this. Okay. So I've got to close the meeting on this browser, and I'll reopen it in a second separately. So let me get there. Oops. Here, start. Computer audio. Another camera from the settings. That one. Yeah. So they should be able to see us now, and they should be able
Yes,
to hear. Yeah. So you should be able to
Yes.
see and hear us now. Let me just get everything set. But 1 minute. Yeah, we should be ready to continue now. Sorry about that.
no, that's great. We have an SRNA attendee, if you could bring them in. And before we bring the candidate in. That's just a second setup for me.
Okay. So there's someone waiting in the. Let's see. All right, which one are we admitting?
SRNA.
Okay. They should be joining now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. He's on. Thank you. That's just a backup connection for me. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. I have a great view of the council. So, Mayor, we do have I call him Chief. We have Mr. Troy Perry in our waiting room. If you're ready to start.
We are.
Then, all right. If you will let Mr. Perry in, I'll welcome him and then turn him over to the council.
Okay.
Good job, IT.
Thank you.
Waiting on me to add here.
I'm adding right now. And
Mr. Perry has stepped away from the camera for just a minute. Timing is everything, right? So we are getting started at 9 o'clock, and we'll adjust our schedule. I believe we gave everybody about 55 minutes. So we will be going, we can go up until 9:55 if needed.
Okay.
By the way, Mr. Perry, check.
Okay. I believe the relationship between the city council and the manager has to be one of trust, that whatever I say is the truth. I've seen so many organizations or relationships fail because people are not honest. And I believe you have to be honest. You might not like what I have to say, but at least give me the opportunity to say exactly what needs to be said to you personally. And I think that the city council has to have that type of confidence that the manager can get things done. And when he goes about addressing issues, that is done in a fair and impartial manner, that directing them to take action, I prefer a style where it comes to me so I'll know and I can hold the staff accountable. But I think they have to have a good relationships. But when you ask them a question, again, it should be honest dialogue and they should give you the information that you desire. But when directing them to do certain activities, I just believe that it should come through the manager so you can hold me accountable and I can hold that certain department accountable.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the next question, but you kind of hit up on this next question with your previous comments there. Describe the relationship between the board and the city manager. And the board.
I skipped.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was asking a question that has already been asked of you. From your vantage point, what do you perceive to be the opportunities and challenges facing the city of Lake City now and in the future?
That's a good question. Well, based on what I've read and looking back, I believe the challenge now is for the city to get their staff back in, get a full complement in their staff. I think that, based on some of the vacancies you may have and the change in direction, I believe you need a vision or a leader or someone that can start to bring all those issues in-house and get them sorted out so the city can start to continue to move forward. I believe, based on what I'm seeing and hearing, I think a lot of times those issues from the public can be addressed at the department level. But I just believe once we get a full complement of staff in place, that would eliminate a lot of those issues that citizens may feel are not adequate at this time. I believe Lake City, based on what I'm reading, like any other community, has its challenges in terms of fiscal challenges of growing the tax base and economic development and making sure that in the future we continue to grow, the city continues to grow as an organization. Those are going to be challenges that we're going to need to work together, work with outside agencies, and also the community to try and come up with those solutions and try how we can leverage, opportunities to get things done so we can move forward. So all that could be ironed out or some type of roadmap in various types of workshops. It's not going to happen overnight, but I just think once you get the core services addressed and you reinstill some confidence in the community that, citizens will have somewhere they can turn to get things done. I believe that's the first step in trying to solve a long-term issue with the board in the community.
Thank you.
Okay, my last and final question. If you were hired, explain some of the ways you will get to know the community.
Good question, Mr. Commissioner. Well, the first thing I would do is when I get there, I would start doing some building relationships, have sessions where I can meet the citizens, meet the business owners, and find out exactly what's on their mind. Well, and let me go back a little bit. First thing I would want to do is also build a relationship with the staff, find out what their issues are, look at our core competencies and what we're doing, get a sense of what their their work plan was for the new fiscal year, I'm sure, and what directives that the city council has them working on for the next fiscal year or this fiscal year, and try to compare those and see where we are. Once I get that all under my, like in a 90-day plan, I would have it put in writing to the council. Then I'll start meeting with the citizens and finding out exactly what their issues are. With the business community, what are some of the things that they're having a hard time with? Do we need to do something with our building department or construction department? We have, improve our processes, or is there something we can do to increase, the time it takes to pay your utility bill, things of that nature. And once I sit down and come up with some type of clear objective on what needs to be done, then I would put that in writing, and everyone have a roadmap on what exactly I'm going to do to make sure that the city council's goals and objectives are being met, support the departments in completing their work plan, because I'm sure for the fiscal year they have some issues that they promised they would do, and we would need to take a look at those, and then find out those needs of the community. And from that would be my roadmap in terms of recommending to the city council some of the things that I think need to be done. But more importantly, instilling confidence in the community means meeting with them, addressing their concerns. And sometimes it's as small as, like I said, expedited permitting. When you come in, we can get all the departments together. If you're trying to build a development or building, get all the departments together, get it done then, and that helps with funding for that person. It's a cost to their developer. So things of that nature, the business community, and the same thing with citizens. If you're having a problem, let's get some of the resources in the room and let's try to get it ironed out so we can move forward.
Okay, my next question, a little bit of a two-part question, is with the continuing physical constraints, what do you believe are the keys to cities managing their increased demands for services? And I know you mentioned that you had some experience in economic development. How would you tie that in?
Was that the mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Could you repeat the question? I mean, it went out for a little bit. I'm just trying to make sure I hear you.
With the continuing physical constraints, what do you believe are the keys to cities managing their increased demands for services? And how would your experience with economic development help that?
It's a good question. Well, one of the things that we have to do, again, it's not a short-term approach, it's a long-term approach. We have to take a look at the community as a whole. And if we are going to encourage businesses to come here, we have to have several things. We have to have some type of plan in place. We got to look at our workforce as a whole. The colleges turning out students in those types of areas where we can benefit from them. And more importantly, we have to take advantage of some of the state and federal programs that will allow encourage businesses to come to our city. So it's a long-term approach. There's programs out there. If a employer hires a certain amount of employees, and we can look at it, and some of the employees, the majority of his employees come from our city, where there's things that I can bring to the city council and say, hey, we need to support this. So if they're going to grow, we continue to try to support them. So there's programs that can help us help them. But I think more importantly, in the short term, we're going to have to take a look at the budget and look at the core competencies and see if we can reduce costs in certain areas while maintaining or even improving the level of service. And this is going to take something from all of us together, even the community, to have their ideas. But long-term, looking at economic development, we have to leverage the things that we can control and things that we have, the resources that we have, to encourage businesses to come into the city. And that means looking at the entire gamut, such as the technical schools, the workforce, things that we have to offer that we can, entice city companies to come here and set up, and hire and employ some of our workforce, and at the same token, give our local business owners the opportunity to get some of the work in building those particular projects. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Mayor.
It does. Thank you.
Describe your approach to ethics in the workplace. In addition, describe a situation where you felt pressured to compromise your integrity and how you dealt with it.
Well, I believe wholeheartedly in ethical behavior. And I'm assuming most departments, most organizations have an ethical policy, and we're all required to sign it. And I think that ethical behavior is very important, especially it instills trust from the community. We don't want our employees or manager out there doing unethical behavior. Now, I can honestly say I've never had anyone approach me about doing unethical things. I think my behavior up front probably deters that, but I've never had that experience. I apologize, Mr. Commissioner, but I do believe in having a solid ethical policy that every employee goes to ethics training and sign that they understand from the lowest employee to the top employee, including myself. I think that's something that should be done every couple of years, and we should revisit that policy quite often. But unfortunately, I've never had that issue where experiencing unethical behavior or requests.
Thank you.
Here. Get started. Should pull it up, but it's not. Okay, I might have to close this just for a minute. Computer's kind of an issue, yeah. Let me just real quick. Temporarily, then we're going to rejoin with the camera that back up. So 1 second. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Don, can you hear them?
Can you see?
Great.
And can you see the council again?
We can.
Okay.
I have audio and video on your end, as well as with Mr. Rosenthal.
Okay, we're good to start.
Okay, wonderful. Don, as I mentioned, I've got some great folks here to talk to you. We're going to take about 55 minutes. We're starting a few minutes late, so we'll be close to maybe 10:50 is our cutoff time, but that should not be a problem. Each member of the council will introduce themselves before they ask their first question or before they ask their question, so you know who's talking to you. And they're just going to rotate questions, Don, but if you need anything, you just let me know and I'll be lurking in the background. There's a second, as I mentioned, there's a second video on here. That's just a backup one for me, the SRNA one.
Okay.
Okay, with that, Mayor, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm Steve Witt. I'm the mayor here in Lake City, and want to welcome you to this process and thank you for participating with us. And I will get to ask the first question.
Thank you, Mayor.
We've had an opportunity to review your resume. Take a few minutes to briefly explain from your perspective how your background prepares you for this position.
Well, for a great many years, I've been serving in various capacities that seem to align with what your city needs right now. Most recently, I was an assistant county administrator for Pasco County, which is one of the fastest growing counties still in this county. I was brought in 2014 to fix their development and planning and building program because they had a bad reputation as far as getting new people to come in and welcoming development. We introduced some new programs like a cellar and other things. We went after state grants to get sewer and water installed in areas to make them more viable for economic development. And we were very successful in that. The programs that we installed are still running today, and they have made the county very successful as far as getting development. I look at what I feel the city needs based on my research on your Facebook pages and what your citizens are saying online, and it lines up pretty well with what I've always done. I've always come in and fixed issues, problems that the city of town had at the time. You seem to have a problem with, or your citizens think you have a problem with transparency. I reach out to the community as a whole, the various groups, and bring them on board with the city's objectives and strategics. I help develop strategic plans, starting with your vision and your mission. And by doing that, you bring everybody on board because it's pretty hard to go against something that you help create.
Is Pasco County Newport Richey?
Well, Newport Richey is one of the four cities within Pasco County.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I actually live in Newport Richey.
I'll be asking the next question. My name's Todd Sampson, City Councilman, District 13. Describe your leadership and management style. In addition, describe your previous supervisors' management styles and what you learned from them relative to management.
Well, I consider myself a servant leader. I believe in making sure my people have the training and the opportunity to accomplish the job and then coach them along the way. If there's a situation where more technology needs to be applied to a certain problem to come up with a solution, I'm very good at doing that. Most of my people that have worked for me have various different styles, but in the end, their styles were more like mine over time. I worked with the people in Pasco from 2014 until 2021. And styles develop because of success or failure. The more successful you are at doing something, the more people seem to emulate, how you do it in your style. So a great many people that were not servant leaders when I got there are servant leaders now because they see the success that I've had with getting things done as a servant leader. I think that I've positively impacted the thoughts and ideas of some of the people that work for me. I have some letters that I can supply or names and telephone numbers where you can go and talk to some of the people that actually work for and with me. And I'll be glad to supply those to Renee or to yourselves, however you want to do that.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
My name is Eugene Jefferson, City Councilman representing Precinct 10. I'll be asking you the next question. Please describe your experience within the following areas: budgeting and financial management, strategic planning, visioning, utilities, and capital improvement.
Okay. I was responsible for all those areas within Pasco County. Economic development, that was what I started talking about a little earlier. There was a place called Lacucci that was an old lumberyard that hadn't been developed or worked in for over 50 years since the lumberyard closed down. We were able to get state grants and brought that in to improve the, well, not improve, but install water and sewer lines to make that land more viable for redevelopment. We actually did that. There's all kinds of developments there now. We started with somebody that brought in a 700-job outfit building those big concrete barriers that you see along the highways in some areas. And other companies came on board because of the success of those companies. And success pretty much begets success. Now, one of the other things is you talked about finance. I have a master's degree in finance and accounting. I did that with the over years and years ago, but that's been very helpful in helping me to understand and apply various strategies to making sure that we stayed on budget and making sure that we increase revenue for my area. I had the street department, I had building, code, planning, all those areas, zoning that impact development. And I brought those people together as a team so that when a developer has a problem, they don't have to shop around and ask 15 or 16 different people based on what they're looking for. They go to one source. And I had that one source to get the answer to that question and get it back to that guy. And our goal was 24 hours. And if we couldn't get back in 24 hours, we would notify the guy that we weren't going to make that deadline, but we would get back to him within 48 hours. And that worked very well. It held the team responsible, and it gave the developers a whole new opportunity as far as being able to predict what they could deliver to their customers because we were predictable.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Don. My name is Jake Hill, City Councilman, District 12. My first question is, what are some of your strong points on managing your staff?
Well, managing staff, I mentioned earlier that I'm a servant leader. I believe in helping staff get to where they should go. All your staff, anybody's staff is not going to be necessarily properly trained to do what they're assigned to do. I help people get training, I guide them. I'm a servant leader myself. I train people in the importance of being a servant leader. There's a big difference between a boss and a leader. I consider myself a leader, and that distinction comes in. A boss demands and criticizes. I show by my own example, and I work with a struggling department head to help him or her get to where they're supposed to be, help them understand how we got there and how they can get there in the future on their own.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is, what would we learn about you if we contacted a cross-section of citizens from your current or most recent community, including supporters, detractors, and community organizations?
Well, you'll learn that I'm a team builder. One of my strongest attributes is building teams. Now, when you impact, Pasco County is over 500,000 people. So when you impact over 500,000 people, everybody's not going to be happy. But I think I can depend on you finding that people will say that I'm fair and that I've solved a lot of problems in Pasco County, and that I was fair in that process, and that I brought a lot of people who weren't on board, and I've changed a lot of ways of thinking. And success tends to do that. If you try to do something and you're very unsuccessful, then no matter how much effort you put into it, then you're not going to really make a big difference, and you're not going to have many people that support you. But when you try and do something and you're very successful at it, then you tend to be able to build a team quickly and efficiently, and that kind of helps you to get additional successes because of what you've done in the past. So I think if you ask the people, I mentioned earlier that I had some letters from people who work with me, and like I said, I can give those to Renee or to you or whatever. But I think if you talk to people, they'll tell you that I was fair, that was to the point. And most people that I work with in the past, especially builders and contractors from the Tampa Bay Builders Association and other places, were happy that I came to Pasco because I made a tremendous difference as far as them being able to work successfully and being able to predict an outcome to their customers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
How will you establish credibility and build trust with the elected officials, department directors, residents, and staff upon arrival as the new city manager?
That's the $1 million question. Well, right now, there seems to be an issue with at least the citizens and some of the organizations there believe there's the issue with transparency. And the way I would tackle that is head on. I've always had an open door policy. I would have an open door policy there. I would meet with the various groups and actually try and evaluate their problems and see if there's any reasonable solution. And I would try and build that trust over time. Trust is a funny thing. It takes a long time to build it, but you can lose it overnight just by one dishonest act. And I know you got a gentleman there named Sylvester Warren who says that there's a police officer that works for you that wants him dead. I don't know whether that's the truth or not, but that was a somewhat outlandish statement that should be investigated. And I would talk to him when I got there and see what's going on with that. I would talk to other citizens that I see that make complaints on places like Facebook and other areas, because you want to grab that low-hanging fruit. If there's some problems that you can resolve quickly, just by changing the process. Let me give you a case in point. Your customer service center, you have a customer service center. I was looking online, the customer service center was a drive-through center only. So it was only for paying bills. So if it's a customer service center, and you can only drive through and pay bills, then there's really not much of a customer service center, is it? But if you can do other things, maybe there's a reason they don't want the customers in there. I don't know. It didn't tell me that, just from things I can find. But you want to make, I would think, the customer service center someplace where people can call in and have complaints addressed, or walk in and have complaints addressed, things like that. The only way you can really solve the kind of problems that you're talking about is face-to-face, person-to-person, and over time. And I would invest that time in Lake City, just like I invested it here in Newport Richey for Pasco County. And I think it'll make a tremendous difference, because you'll find that on a great many instances, people that feel that way, there's a lack of understanding. And they have a lack of understanding for various reasons. But normally you can solve 15, 20, 25% of the issue just by making sure they have the right information and then going from there. And that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
Okay, next question. How do you encourage, motivate, and develop staff? What ways have you found to promote morale within the organization?
Well, morale is extremely important for any organization. If a person wants to do something, he's going to put, or she's going to put a great deal of effort into it and try to make sure it's done right. Right now, morale is not very high in Lake City. So we start by having conversations with staff. We have conversations with them once a month. We would try to find out what some of the issues are. If the issue is paid, we try to make sure that they can get paid comparable to the surrounding community. If the issue is the lack of understanding for something or other, we try to get to the bottom of that. How you resolve an issue like that is really getting with the people, figuring out what's caused the issue, and how can you resolve it, and being honest and truthful and transparent. So they'll know that what you say is what you mean, having an open door policy, and handling issues as a group, but also be willing to handle issues on a one-on-one basis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my next question. We have people in Lake City that doesn't want funds spent on the north side of Lake City. How would you handle that?
Okay, I only heard bits and pieces of what you said. I've turned my volume up, so can you speak please directly to your mic?
Okay, here we go again.
Thank you.
Got some people here in Lake City that don't want funds spent on the north end of Lake City. How would you handle those? How would you handle those people?
First of all, we have to figure out why they don't want funds spent, and hopefully they can understand that the elected officials are the one that decide where funds should be spent. But if that's a big issue, maybe meet with those people and show them how spending funds equitably over this city benefits the entire city. But before I can answer that question intelligently, I have to understand better why they didn't want the funds there. Is that a historical problem there in Lake City, or is that something that we could meet with the people and say why those funds be spent there, or should the funds be spent? That's something that we have to evaluate further. But I would initially get into it by meeting with the people, figuring out what the issues are, and trying to see if we can resolve some of those issues over time.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, my next question is, tell us about the most difficult management decision you have had made in the past few years. In describing the example, please give us an idea of the alternatives and options you analyzed before making the decision.
Okay. Well, years ago, and I'm going back in my resume, I was working for a little town called Bellwood, Illinois. They brought me in because they needed I was a building official at the time, and they brought me in as a building commissioner because they combined the building folks with the planning folks with the economic development. And the little town I was in, all the houses looked alike in that area. By that area, I mean the next 3 or 4 towns all around them. They all had the same houses built by the same builders, built approximately along the same time. But the homes that were selling in this little town, Bellwood, they were selling for 30%, 35% less than the other towns in the area. And they were, sometimes you have the exact same type of house because they're built by the same builder in another town that's selling for $30,000, $40,000 more. So long story short, we didn't know why it was, but after some time looking at it and researching it, we found that the people that are moving out of the city of Chicago, most of them were previously apartment owners, so apartment dwellers. So they didn't really see the need to maintain their property up to a proper standard. And they just didn't understand the need to do that. So I spoke with the mayor and council and talked about how can we improve the overall condition, how can we improve the value of the property in the city of Bellwood. So after a long conversation and some examples, we realized that we could do this by having the code enforcement people point out violations and deficiencies. A violation would be something that we wanted the people to fix right away. We give them 30 days to fix it. A deficiency would be something that we saw as a problem that's developing now, You can address it now, we appreciate it, but we're not gonna actually fix that right now. But as that deficiency degraded, it would become a violation. And at the point that there was a violation, then we would insist on having that violation corrected within 30 days. So we talked to the mayor and the council, they all agreed to implement this program, and we started the implementation. We looked over the entire city of Bellwood, it's about 35,000 residents, and we went through and we highlighted the things like cracking, peeling paint, defective garage doors, defective windows, things that we can see from the street that made the property look bad, that would also lower the appraisal. Long story short, that after about a year's time, the people were extremely upset. We had an election coming up, and the mayor called me in and said that he didn't know what to do at this point. And I understood that because he was getting a lot of flack based on all the work that had to be done and all the pressure being put on the citizens. So I told the mayor that I understood he could do whatever he had to do. I understood that, but I felt that the program was working. One lady came in about a year earlier, and she had asked to speak to me, and when I came out there, she just started cursing me, and she cursed me everything you can imagine. What she called me, she was upset. Her husband had to hold back. And I was just, I excused myself and told her, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm doing this for your own good. I explained what was happening, but she didn't want to hear. So fast forward, the election passed by, mayor stuck with me, nothing happened. The mayor was really like, but go forward another year. And that same lady that was so nasty with me was selling her house. And she was selling her house, moving to Bolingbrook, which is where I am right now in my son's house. We're visiting my son in Illinois. So she was moving here to Bolingbrook, and she put her house on the market, and it sold in like 3 or 4 days. Well, the houses in that area sold very quickly because they were nice houses, but the Bellwood houses weren't being maintained. So once her house sold, and she got not 30% less, but she got like 35, almost 40% more than she thought she would have gotten for it. She had a considerable amount of money in the house, and some of the things people talked about were some of the things that we never do. So she came back and she apologized to me, and she said that she didn't understand what I was trying to do, and she talked to people and neighbors and stuff. And that program was very successful. It was very scary, but it was very successful. And people were selling their homes for much more money than they thought, much more than they invested. And that was a win-win program. Now, some of the things that were scary or dangerous for me was the fact that we had an election coming up. I had to convince the mayor and board that nobody lost their jobs. I mean, they were all reelected. But I had to convince the mayor and board that we were just about there. We just needed a little more time. Unfortunately, they rode with me, and everything worked out. But I had to convince my department and my department people. I wasn't a department head, I was a department head, but I wasn't assistant city manager or anything at that point. But everybody stayed with me, the team stayed with me, and everything worked out in the end. But that was probably the most scary thing that I've ever done in my career, and I'm just happy that it turned out in a positive manner.
Thank you.
With the continuing fiscal constraints, what do you believe are the keys to cities managing the increased demands for services?
Well, it depends on what the increased demands for services are. If the demands are increasing because of development, and I think like in Pasco, I asked the developers to help pay for the new demands that they were creating.
Let me make sure it's streaming here. Yeah, we're waiting. I'm almost there. All right, streaming keys connected. Yeah, it was the computer. Processor was just losing. I'm just waiting on it to connect, and then we can start. Provided she can hear us. 1 second. Renee, can you hear us?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Oh,
She's having
and audio.
You got video and audio? Okay. Okay. All right, we are good to start up again. Sorry about that. Oh, all right. Sorry, 1 second. I'm not sure what's happening with Zoom. What is this thing doing? 1 minute. Connection's not very good. Can you speak again, Renee? See, not very good on her end now. That's fine. All right, do you guys admit the other candidate, or do they need to, 1 second.
Not yet, I don't think.
Not yet? Okay. Renee, can you speak again?
Testing.
Large tech. Sorry, it's breaking up on our end. 1 second. We're not ready for this thing.
It's on the other screen.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, we're fine with that. Why is that waiting? Stop streaming. Start with this. One minute. Let's go back in here. Maybe it's Zoom having an issue.
Record.
Can you speak again?
Recording.
No, it's this thing. All right.
Progress.
Testing. Testing.
Some on our end. Camera. Fine.
Switch that to the.
I'm using for audio. Renee, can you hear us?
It's still.
Yeah.
Video
That's what I have to do with it.
and video.
Okay, 1 minute.
Oh.
Audio capture shit. Audio capture. Where's the profile? Something. I left it up there. Let's put the old back in if this audio doesn't work. Why isn't this coming on? It's it's not actually taking that. Okay, restart virtual camera. Select our virtual camera. Like that. That's all correct. Input level is picking me up. Okay. Renee, can you speak again? Let's go. Okay. Let's switch back. So settings. Right. I think we have to go back to the old one. There's something not right with this, and I don't have time to figure it out since they're waiting. Okay. Let's do that. Just a minute. So, because it's not streaming.
It's 14.
Okay, it is streaming there now. We just have the audio would show Renee on our side with Renee.
Is it?
I can do the same. But... There we go. Renee, can you speak again? No. It just came on and then it killed it. Yeah, it just came on and it died again. It's coming in. I'm hoping it's just a few more minutes. Sorry. It's downloaded.
No, I've been running up down the roads, going for it. Jay's been in the hospital, what's that, hip surgery. If they do well, she gets on Saturday, I should be able to do that. I got one of the things I need to learn how to.
They say those things are all I need to switch to primary.
And I haven't already with the fire right yet.
Really?
Okay.
Because it's not even lighting up.
I have a little gas smoker.
I understand.
And I do
I understand.
I could like that damn thing up, put some wood chips in it, put a bit of chicken on it, all the way.
I'll prepare. I'll communicate it to my staff.
Well, when you asked me, I just wanted to do
There's
this.
availability issue.
I was talking to somebody the other day.
Okay.
They like the fire charcoal.
All right, I appreciate it.
Sound.
This is this guy.
Okay.
Hey, so I just
The
go
only,
in there.
the only kind of
Yeah.
cook I
It's
know
a,
is
it's a
It's frustrating.
wood pellet thing.
So communicate that.
Yeah.
So
I've got charcoal, I've got wood, I've got gas,
it's
I've
gotta
got
do it.
oxygen.
She's waiting on God to
I'm
come.
on the wrong side now.
I got one.
It's just camera center. Yeah, I mean, that's working.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, with the information given, it's just not calling the camera. Yeah, pause the order. Yeah. Yeah.
Cousin and all that.
Yeah. It might be that's using the sound card. Fault device.
Get a lid.
Thank you.
Yeah, myself.
Don't need that. Just. We got here.
Lemon juice is good, but now I got one of them fruits is good.
Is it here? It's acting like it won't even hear it. Why is it acting like that's not plugged in? Something plugged down here. 1 minute. Yeah, there we go. For that. Let me kill this real quick. I'd like to change that. Okay, so speakerphone, just what it should have been. Okay, everything's plugged in. Because that's the correct one for that. We'll clean this all up later. Let's need to get them running. Port. Let's make sure that it actually pulls because it should have around it. And it's recognizing it now, which is hold up, where am I? I'm here. So I come all the way up. Renee, can you speak again?
Yes, testing.
All right, we can hear you now. Sorry about that. We were having a hardware issue with the computer. We had to swap. So let me make sure that it's got the video. Yeah, I'm getting the video back up. It lost it from the. Okay. There we go. Custom. No. Place default. Let's make it fit. Okay. Almost done. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. Let me make sure we're still streaming. Okay. We're streaming. We've got the audio. This is still recording. So if you guys need to discuss anything, we can do that now. And then when the candidate's ready to get admitted, they should be able to see and hear you without the buffering online.
Okay.
Now you ready? Audrey's gotta turn hers on.
We're good.
Okay, we're good. If you're ready to go.
I'm ready.
Are you ready for the other candidate?
Let's bring them in. If everybody's ready on your end.
Yes.
All right, they should be admitted now. Just this.
Hi, Fred, if you can hear me, Renee Norlock here. Thank you for waiting.
Let's see here.
I see
Everyone
you.
see me okay?
I do. Do you see us?
Hold on, I don't hear you too well. Let me see
Okay.
if I got better volume here.
All right. Testing.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you now.
Wonderful. We got
Very
it
good.
done. Thank you,
Got it
Fred.
done. Very nice. Very nice. Hope you can see me okay.
Yes.
The lighting's not 100% great here, but.
No, it looks good. We've got
Very good.
clear visual on you. I've got a great group of folks here, Fred, that want to talk to you.
Very good.
We're starting a few minutes late, around 11 o'clock. So we've allotted about an hour for the call. So we'll go, if needed, to around 11:55, but I think we'll probably finish up a little bit sooner than that. I think we have plenty of time. They have about 10 or so questions, 10 or 12 questions, Fred, to ask you. And we'll start with the mayor asking the first question, and each council member will introduce themselves when they ask the first question. If you have any problem whatsoever, I'll be lurking in the background. I was going to open the chat window, but I'm not going to do that. The reason I suggested that before is we were having audio problems in the event that I needed to read a question to you because you couldn't hear it from them. But I think we've corrected the audio challenges. But again, feel free to ask the council members to repeat a question if you need it, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, with that, I'm going to turn you over to the mayor. Good luck, Fred.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Steve Witt. I'm the mayor, and I appreciate you appearing this morning and being part of this process. And I'll get to ask the first question. We've had an opportunity to review your resume. Take a few minutes to briefly explain from your perspective how your background prepares you for this position.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me as well. I appreciate it very much at the time. To get right into the question, well, I have 15 plus years of experience managing local governments. I've worked in a number of different states. All of the organizations I've served have been full service communities, meaning, you know, they had all your standard departments, police, fire, utilities, staff, and your standard issues and things. 15 years of actual work experience, again, working in a number of different communities. I have a bachelor's degree in public management and business. So I have a good background as well, educationally. Over the years, I've continued my professional development with ICMA and local managers groups in each state that I've worked. So kept up with everything and love the profession, love what I'm doing. Plan to retire from it pretty much, stay with it for my life. So again, lots of solid experience there. And all my positions have been your standard with varying degrees, either town administrator, town manager. So it's been a council manager or a council manager mayor form. Definitely lived and breathed local government management for the last 15 or plus years now.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Todd Sampson, District 13 City Councilman. Describe your leadership and management style. In addition, describe your previous supervisors' management styles and what you learned from them relative to your management style.
Well, my management style is I consider myself a collaborative, team-based leader. And what that means is, of course, there's a big spectrum there to that. But, you know, I'm not the top-down person that just sits there and, you know, tells you what to do and you do it. I want to hear from you. I want to work with you as a team member. I found that that's the best way to keep morale up, and it's my natural way anyway. And it's worked great for me in all my years of working. So again, open leadership, making myself available, open door policy, want you to be involved and communicate with me frankly. So again, very open collaborative style. Actually, it's a good second question there, or joining question about how I did this. Actually, I developed that from my younger years I worked in the private sector before I came to government about 20 years ago, and had a lot of supervisors there and seen them. And I was very influenced by the people that led in that way, meaning, you know, talked to me as a human being, worked with me, rather just saying, go there, do that, and that sort of thing. So I followed that example. It worked with me, and I saw it seemed to work with them in their environment as well. So that's kind of where I got that. And of course, I've had all the standard, more than probably enough leadership, standard educational readings and things as well, and found that played out pretty well in reality. So that's my leadership style in a nutshell, and hopefully answered the question.
Thank you.
My name is Eugene Jefferson, City Councilman representing Precinct 10, and I'll be asking you the next questions. Describe your experience within the following areas: budgeting and financial management, strategic planning, vision, utilities, and capital improvement.
Okay, what was the third one there? Could you do those one more time? Budgeting?
Budgeting and financial management.
Yep.
Second one, strategic planning, visioning. Third one, utilities. And the last one, capital improvement.
Capital improvements, all right. All right, well, budgeting and finance, that's in every position I've been in, that's been my primary responsibility in varying degrees, depending on how large the staff was. In some of my very small communities, pretty much did everything. In most of my communities, worked with my finance officer and department heads and to create the budget. It's always been my full responsibility to make sure the final product is put together and delivered to the council and well thought out. So it's always landed on me one way or another to make certain of that. And that's not only developing the budget, but once the budget's approved, the daily execution of it and making sure things stay in step, of course, and within budget. Of course, keeping the council informed and alerted to any things they should know about as the budget year progresses. So full responsibility that you'd find in a standard manager form of government, full responsibility for budgeting and finance. As for, I think it was strategic planning or planning, I've done a lot with that in many different ways. Lots of states, as you might know, and I'm not certain about Florida, have a comprehensive plan or a master plan. Worked with those in many areas. Updating them, actually even creating them, working as a team or on my own. I've worked in your more standard business type strategic planning as well. Environments where you may do a SWOT analysis or things like that. So had a good smorgasbord in planning, and that planning, of course, has involved many things. Planning for the growth of the community, in planning and zoning areas, financial planning, which of course kind of blends in with just about everything. So done planning in a number of different areas and ways, and for a lot of different communities as well. Very small to very large, even the ones I didn't manage where I worked as a department person. So seen it in a lot of different areas too, with a number of different actors versus just a few. So done quite a bit with planning. Utilities, worked in communities that have had every single one. My most recent here in Milan, we have everything, including natural gas and electric. All of my communities have had at least water, sewer, and water and sewer, and 3 of them have had natural gas and electric. So pretty much worked the smorgasbord with utilities. Worked with a lot of things. Of course, water and sewer takes up a heck of a lot of time, and working with the regulators and at the state and federal level, and done a lot of sewer plant upgrades and water as well. Using, as you probably know, electric and gas, except for the regulations and the prices, usually run pretty well. but done a lot in those areas too. In one community, actually, we contracted out our gas operation. So familiar with, working with someone in that sort of a contractor respect as well. But full experience with utilities. Let's see, the last one here. Did I get that right? What am I missing here? Oh, capital improvements. Yes, I've done a lot of capital improvements of varying degrees. I mentioned briefly about for water and sewer. A lot of those have been in sewer, especially upgrading plants and making sure you keep up with regulations, working with I&I issues or inflow and outflow issues, which tend to be a problem in every community, of course, just working with some of those recently. As for other sort of infrastructure, worked on building town halls, public works garages, and various other capital improvement projects. And capital improvement planning as well, of course, which comes part and parcel to that. Planning out how you're gonna. Those are big projects, of course. Can't just pull into a fund and pay for them in one day. So work for in the planning aspect of those capital improvements. Try and keep a running plan of whether they be infrastructure type or equipment even. So done a bunch in that area as well.
Thank you.
I think I hit them all. It's one way or another.
Good morning, Fred. My name is Jake Hill, City Council District 12. And my first question to you is, what are some of your strong points on managing your staff?
Some of my strong points. I think my strong points, and I've kind of gotten good comments on these two as well from staff, is I make myself very available. They all have they're welcome to call me 24/7. I think this is a 24/7 position, actually. So I want to be communicated with. Open door policy. I don't think I'm sure anyone who's been managed by me would easily say that I'm very approachable as well as contactable. So I'll make myself available for mentoring, helping out, try to play the line so I'm not a micromanager, yet I do show them my interest and that I'm available to help them. So accessibility, to sum up, probably accessibility, approachable. I think most people know they can approach me and speak frankly with me, and not worry about retaliation or anything like that. They can be frank with me. I want to hear that. Knowledgeable, I think, is another thing. I try to keep myself as knowledgeable as possible. And yes, I'm not the police chief or the utility expert, but keep myself professionally as an executive knowledgeable of what's going on in that environment, and show interest, of course, in which I do have in all the different fields that I have to departments I have to manage.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next question is, what would we learn about you if we contacted a cross-section of citizens from your current or most recent community, including supporters, detractors, and community organizations?
Well, I hope you would find in just about all of them that I was as I am with staff, of course, in a more appropriate setting. I also give time to residents, open door policy with them as well. They can come in and see me anytime. I think they would say follow up. I definitely follow up with them promptly on issues, even if I may not have the answer right away. I let them know I haven't forgotten them. Working on the issues that they may have brought to me. So I think they say I'm engaged in the community. I usually attend most communities, of course, have a chamber of commerce, so business meetings. Make myself available for those. Community events, of course, town days and those sort of things. I make my appearances there and make sure everyone knows I'm there. That goes for pretty much all the positions. Most recent position, unfortunately, we had the 2 years of COVID, which kind of started right after I took the helm in Milan here, and so over the first year and a half, there hasn't been as much contact because of that. So probably not as much, and that just want to say that in the last in my most recent community. But got that back on track as things got better. But again, nothing that detracted from my being there in the office and things, but just getting out and getting close to people and that sort of thing like you do normally. But no, I've always I think it's a very important point. I've always lived in all the communities I managed as well, so people knew and see me and knew where I was and that sort of thing, and always have good good responses from them from all I can gather. And as you know, I'm leaving my current position, and I just had one comment from the clerk there, I remember, which made me feel well. She said, "I think you probably have dealt with the citizens better than I've seen any other manager do."
Thank you.
Mhm.
How will you establish credibility and build trust with the elected officials, department directors, residents, and staff upon arrival as the new city manager?
Well, building trust, I think, is, of course, different levels there. Not to make it too long, but with all of them, I get out and make sure and introduce myself proactively. I think that's important to do that on like your first week, whenever you can. Probably should break it up a little. Obviously with staff, I meet with everyone as soon as possible, introduce myself, talk about my leadership style a bit as we did, and that I'm available and that sort of thing, and try to meet with every department head at their place, and also have a joint meeting of all of us. So I think establishing that right up front, showing I'm engaged, proactive in wanting to get to know things, and just introduce myself and say I'm there to help in things. So for staff, for the community, get out proactively, and of course it depends on how big your community is. Some it's easier to do than others, but as much as possible, go walk around, introduce myself, let people know I'm there, and especially the businesses, and that I'm there to work with them, and the city, wants to see them succeed and that sort of thing, because it's a mutual thing. So for the community, again, making my presence known, I think that just establishes right there confidence. And of course, the building goes as you stay there for a while. Just making sure I do all those things I kind of said in some of the previous questions, of following up with them, showing interest and giving them time when they come in with issues, working with the staff, of course, also as well, to practice good customer service. So for the elected representatives and yourselves, of course, I, just like everyone else, even more so probably, we have to work together very closely. So being there for you, recognizing too that you are a board, and that whatever one of you might get, and make sure you all are informed if one of you came in and see me for something. But I'm there to meet with all you personally, and of course in council meetings, make sure you're very informed. I think that's probably between us, of course, is the most important thing, is to be, I'm that resource for you, to inform you, so you can make the policy decisions and make the important decisions that I carry out. So building that trust, showing my professionalism, knowledge, and credibility on the job.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question. How do you encourage, motivate, and develop staff? In what ways have you found to promote morale within your organization?
Well, following up on some of those practices of my leadership style, I have found that some of the ways will depend on the organization. Some organizations had low staff morale, and it takes a lot more than others and to upgrade. So I've had that experience as well. And then, of course, there's some where things are going pretty well, and you just need to kind of keep things going in that respect. So I've worked in those different environments. I think the best way I've kept up morale is to, number one, lead by example, showing that, I do just what I expect them to do. I take my job seriously, as we just sort of talked about, that, I'm big on customer service. I get back to people, work with them. I work as hard as they do in my job to fulfill my goals of carrying out the council's directives and serving the public. So to get back on it, I think that helps morale in a way, and that they see that, I'm not one that's an exception, but I'm there to work just as they are. I think also, again, not to repeat, that just my leadership style really helps that morale as well. It's one reason I do like the style of being an open leader that likes to work in teams, involving the staff when there's, decisions, of course, about their departments and things. I want to hear their input first, and rather than me just making, a decision on my own. So involving in that team effort and open communication, I think it builds morale just to see that I am available. Again, going back on some of the things I've said before about, how I manage, and that I make myself available to them to mentor and help out and be a resource. I'm there to hear their concerns. If there are issues, which are always usually, every place has issues, meaning complaints between staff or whatever, that, I treat everyone fairly. I really want to hear in cases like that from everyone, and don't jump to conclusions. I want to hear all sides to matters, and work on things thoroughly. Those are some of the things that come to mind right now. I hope that helps morale. Yeah, so things that come to mind right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. We have some people in Lake City that doesn't want funds spent on the north side of Lake City. How would you handle that?
They don't want you to spend on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. One side of the city, sort of neighborhood thing, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Well, I think a very important thing, of course, in my position, is to look out for what's good for the whole community, for all of your wards and everything, to work with you to do that. But in the end, obviously, what's important is that the whole community succeed as well. Sure, you're going to have differences, especially in the larger the community, the more differences, from my experience, has been in different sections of the city and the community. But I would really try to do an educational effort on that, to really say, if we really need to be a success, all of our pockets, all of our sectors, all of our wards have to be participating in that, and strive to my best to make that the case. Obviously, whether it's look for personal interest, and maybe one side of the community's got a lot of the businesses, which would, and another doesn't. Well, that other side, for example, also can patronize them if they're in good shape to do that. So it all kind of comes around, and we have to work as a whole community and include everyone in that. So I would definitely work on that, and show another way by example that I give as much. I equalize my time out to be just as interested in every section, all of your wards in the community. But again, I would work on that. It'd be an educational effort maybe, but hopefully too, by my example, that I give everyone equal attention, equal concern over their problems as well. It's a very important part.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us about the most difficult management decision you have made in the past few years. In describing this example, please give us an idea of the alternatives and options you analyzed before making the decision.
Let's see, most difficult. I'm going to think of the most recent years. I've had a bunch of them in the past there. Think a minute here. Well, I guess the one that comes to mind that's kind of recent is we just redid our zoning ordinance here. And again, I don't want to say it was a difficult one, but it's in fairly recent history. It's one that comes to mind. A lot of my real difficult ones were way in the past. The difficult part here was we had a lot of issues in town that properties that weren't being upkept and that sort of thing. And just because our zoning ordinance wasn't, we weren't really, the city hadn't been enforcing them, and things were getting overlooked and kind of out of hand. So obviously as things go, the city, when I got there, I said, well, we got to clamp down on these things and try to get things in order. And that caused, I won't say caused issues, but we had to rewrite a lot of things in our zoning ordinance and go through the process of that. So there was a lot of different opinions that came through, some on the planning commission and zoning commission, which in this particular community had the first say at before it went to the council. And so it was working through those issues to kind of well, I was going to say a little in a way of kind of went back to the previous question there, one section of the community versus the other, because one section tended to be have more issues than others with the proposals we had. So and we're one side, they liked it better. So working to bring those sides together to compromise on that, along with working with my own planning commission and board as well. Again, I don't really call it difficult. Trying to think of a real difficult position. I can get into those further back. But this was, you know, a position difficult in the sense that you wanted to do the right thing for everyone. I mean, for the best for the community. And there will be some, of course, that will still totally, and probably in the end, not agree with all the changes that the council wanted, but trying to show why that was the avenue we were going down to try and, you know, police things a little more and for the best of the community as a whole. But it worked out well. In the end, I am happy to say it really did come out better than I thought. I think that everyone, we did do some compromising there, and I think with all of our efforts, good staff as well, that we showed that you know, what we were doing, you know, was going to be best for the community and really not going to make a big, not really asking any more than any other community was doing.
Thank you.
With the continuing fiscal constraints, what do you believe are the keys to cities managing their increased demands for services?
Number one, a lot of things in that. Well, thinking out your purchases and your plans. I had a number of communities with that issue, of course, for all of us. In most cities, of course, we have that limited revenue, and yet expenses seem to increase every time you look around. So working with staff to really make sure we have a good plan for the budget, capital improvement plan, and those sort of longer term purchases, as well as a good thorough budgeting process to really think out what we really need. I have found also getting what's appropriate for what you're trying to do is very important. sometimes there's you have to choose between the Cadillac and the smaller model, so to speak. And maybe the smaller is best for you right now. What do you need at that point? Judging whatever you're trying to obtain, whether it be a service or a product or a structure, getting what you need, yet planning too for the future as well. So getting appropriate vision of what you need to do, and then carrying it out appropriately. Obviously, taking advantage of all you can with grants and those sort of things to help out. It's important to keep an eye with that, to make sure you're taking full advantage of that, to get the extra money in, because Lord knows we can't fund everything usually on the sales tax and the ad valorem and that sort of thing. So you got to keep your eye out for that. Fortunately, at this point in time, as I'm sure you know, that there's a lot out there to take advantage of. So it's a very important time with grants and things, especially, and I think it will be for the next year or so, with all the government giving these funds out. So taking advantage of things in general when they're there to help out the normal revenue streams. And those are some of the things that come to mind now that I know I've done in the past.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. Describe the ideal relationship between the board and the city manager, and the board and the staff.
Well, I've found, of course, as I said, I've worked in a mayor council manager form of government, as well as a council manager, meaning the difference is, there was an intermediate, and in one it was just me and the council. So that will vary a little bit, and depending on the power of the mayor too. But normally, and pretty standard, of course, is the council creates the broad policies, of course, with my input and recommendations. That's what I'm there for, is to inform you as best I can, give you as many options as possible to consider when you're coming to your decisions. And of course, my main job as the manager beside that is to make sure the administration's running every day and carrying out those policies that you expect us to be doing faithfully. Making sure the staff, everyone under me, is doing the job they should be, and again, carrying out your policies. But again, the pretty much standard has been mine, where the board takes care of the major policies, and I carry them out with the staff. I work directly with the staff. I've seen varying things as I stay on that. With most, of course, is all communication with the staff would be between me, and then I communicate with the council. I've seen varying with that, though, when I was town administrator and there was a stronger mayor, like right here. When I just left Milan here, it was more of a stronger mayor type relationship. So the mayor got involved a little more in the daily activity. It wasn't a full time, but that was the right in that particular setup of government. And then in the other extreme, it was in the council manager side. It was just me, the council, and basically it was a strict council manager form, where it was just me dealing with staff, and then me dealing directly with the council. And but I think the relationship, again, I know it varies a bit, is the one I described to the start, where you create the policies and the broad view, and I carry them out. Again, of course, with me doing the legwork and the recommendations and the informing of you.
Okay, my last and final question. If you were hired, explain some of the ways to that you would get to know the community.
I were hired to get to know the community. Throw myself in, so to speak, sink or swim. I think that's real important to really get out there, hit the ground running. First week or whatever, get to know everyone in the community. Obviously, you've got a good smorgasbord of businesses and a lot of industry and things. So want to make sure I introduce myself to, the major things in town and get to know, and that's as well as the big industry, as well as the small shop owners, the citizen groups that you might have, of course, the individual citizens that come in, but spreading myself out, first of all, show people I'm the new person there, and I'm willing to work with them, and we're here to serve. And but proactively, I think is the key there, getting myself started too, as well as being there for people that come on their effort to come in to see me. So being communicative and proactive and just getting myself out and introducing myself to all the community members, businesses that I can, and excuse me, and moving forward from that way.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, from your vantage point, what do you perceive to be the opportunities and challenges facing the city of Lake City now and in the future?
Well, obviously, I can't be an expert. From away here, but looked over your website, looked over some of the things you've been doing. Saw your I-75 plan there. That looks like a big thing that's going on now with the sewer expansion and things. Looks like looking over your website, you've got as kind of mentioned before, a very well broad business community, which I think is great, and want to keep those things running. So I guess what I would say, without knowing you really don't get to know the specifics till you get there. But from what I've seen, I would want to keep the projects you've got going, making sure they stay on track. The things that are already running, work to deal with the issues you got going now to make sure they're played out. The projects there for the environmental issues in the sewer, keeping the community growing. And again, all the things you have going, I've worked in just about everything there. So I think my experience would lend itself well to that. But again, I tried to dig a little, but other than that, I didn't see, really not being there, the issues that are facing right off. But from what I did see, it was nothing new. Then I'm sure I could fully serve the community greatly.
Thank you.
Describe your approach to ethics in the workplace. In addition, describe a situation where you felt pressured to compromise your integrity and how you dealt with it.
I think ethics, of course, is very important in the workplace. One of the things that we have to uphold as public servants is being as ethical as we can, meaning, treating people. That means a lot of things, of course. Ethics is a big word, but the standard things that I think we all would agree, not accepting gifts, not being partial, and that sort of thing, and making sure that there's no conflicts of interest, especially on my part. So very important, and then again, lead by example on that, and expect the staff to do that as well. Let me think of a challenge with that. Well, I can think of a lot in a sense, probably not egregious ones, but there's probably been a number of issues where maybe there was a very influential person in the community that maybe kind of expected favorable treatment or that sort of thing, and maybe tried to offer some gifts or something to me, and maybe not in a direct way or what have you. I always, in my nicest way, of course, said I couldn't take those, and that how would it look if I did that to anyone else? So had sort of ones like that. I'm trying to think of a real strong one, or should I say a more detailed, specific issue. That's probably one that comes to mind in general. Thinking of another one here. Just trying to think of another issue that really could pop up to give you a real specific example. But the general ones, again, that come to mind are showing my impartiality in the sense that, I'm not going to accept, gifts like that. And if something ever came to the city like that, I always make sure that it goes to the city and not to myself, if it's a contribution or something. But sorry, I'm kind of drawing a blank on a specific issue where I really was, ethics has always been important, but trying to just think of where I haven't really had a challenge on it, because I think the way I've handled myself is that I don't think people could ever get the idea that they could, get an unfair sort of dealing with me.
Thank you.
Okay, my final question to you is going to be, why are you interested in this position? And is there anything you would like to add or clarify before we conclude?
Well, I'm interested in the position because I am going to be looking for a new position, and I would like it to be a community like Lake City. And I think Lake City's got, actually looking it over, doing, just recently, obviously today, refreshing myself in the research. I think my skills are tuned for a place like Lake City, meaning you've got a variety of, you've got everything pretty much going. You've got a variety of businesses. You're on a great corridor there with your, Interstate 10 and 75. I like being in a place that is active and where there's a lot of opportunity, because I feel my strengths are really good for that. And my number one thing and my point in my career is to really, my next place I want to really go where I can really use, I think my skills are best suited to really make a difference. That's very important to me right now, probably the most important thing. I think that, again, Lake City is a very, we got a good variety, we've got everything, a full service community in all respects of the word, and kind of just the right size for me. And so I just think it would be a perfect fit, and that way I could really parlay my talents to really make a difference in the community. If I had any extra comments about me, I would just say that I'd emphasize my my specific experience, as well as my very well-rounded experience in having worked in just about every aspect of local government you can think of, in one level or another, and feel that my broad knowledge and understanding of local government, and as well as the many industries that we have to work with, and so not only industries but people, groups that we have to work with too. So broad experience, I think I'd like to leave with, saying that I feel I can tackle the issues, whatever they may be coming forward.
Okay, unless anybody has any other questions, we appreciate you appearing this morning and being part of this process, and we thank you again for being part of it.
Well, I want to thank you all for having me very much, and hope I addressed the questions well enough to answer them for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Renee Norlock here. I'll be in touch with you soon, just as I know more about our next steps.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me as well. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Renee, at this time we have public comments, and then we'll get into the next discussion with you. Under
Okay.
comments, I have Mr. Warren.
I'm sorry, Mayor, if I may just make one correction onto Mr. Ventrisco's resume summary. It shows that he is presently with Milan, Missouri. He was with them when he applied for this job a few months ago. And as he mentioned, he's in a transition now from leaving that post. So I didn't want there to be any misinformation in your hands or pushed out to the public. So he is in the process of separating from that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm going on the Paul Dow interim issue. If we hadn't arrived to that point, then I'm good for now.
Okay, Mr. Bowden, do you want to speak now?
Well, I guess I can, man. I kind of want to wait on y'all discussion with how y'all feel about the candidates, but, you know, I don't have any problem with putting my personal views on the record. My name is Renee Norlock, y'all 56 Northeast Bascom North Drive. Hopefully we're about to bring this process to a conclusion. You know, I think, you know, born and raised here, served on city council, worked in city government for 25 years, went to all kinds of city council meetings. I got a real love and appreciation for the city manager form of government. But right now, if we don't come to some type of conclusion pretty soon, I think our community is gonna find itself taking years just to recover from what on this downhill trajectory that we're going on. I feel bad about what I'm seeing, you know, but it is what it is. I think that Ms. Norlock has done personally, I don't think she's done that good of a job. She just keep point blank with. I don't think that we got the best candidates that's out there. We got who applied. Out of these three, it's my opinion, I don't have a vote. And Mr. Perry, you know, he got experience in one city basically, and that's Riviera Beach. If you look at his resume, he's been entering. He was fire chief for a period of time. He was an interim fire chief as long as he was the fire chief. So you have to ask yourself, if you're from a town, born and raised there, have an opportunity to become the city manager, but for whatever reason, he was never chosen as city manager. I did some calling around, but I won't get into that. I think that the second gentleman sound decent, the resume look decent. If I have a vote, someone to come in, that would be one I would bring in. The last gentleman, I just think that this small town experience is not what we need in Lake City. I think right now we have too many problems, too many issues facing our community. And we need somebody with some background. And the second gentleman, who brings a county background, you know, Pasco County is a fairly large county, but it's not the biggest county in the state of Florida. And I guess I'm suggesting, Mayor, that it'll be a waste of taxpayers' money to bring all three of those people in. I just can't see where Mr. Perry or Mr. Ben, whatever his last, I can't pronounce his last name, Freddie, I just get it back there, would be worth the expense of the city to bring them in, but I don't have a vote. But that's just my view concerning that. But I do think in the past time for us to make a decision. And I don't think the fact that Mr. Dow is stepping down, I don't know exactly what it is, I don't know that this is what it was, just a statement. But I do think that his wanting to leave should not be the emphasis for you to make a quick decision. Yeah, I think we need to make one quick, but that shouldn't be your motivation. You should be sure that we're getting the best person to serve the city of this city. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Can you bring Ms. Norlock back?
She's already on.
Okay.
So Mayor, just a little bit more information before we move forward to debriefing. I did talk with each of these candidates about salary. Mr. Ventrisco, I think would be comfortable around the 130 level. Mr. Perry, I think would be a little bit higher than that, 130 to 140. And I think Mr. Rosenthal would be okay in that range, but I think he would want to be at the higher end of the range. I haven't confirmed what he was making in Pasco County, but I believe it was beyond 140. And, but that said, he realizes this is an opportunity to be a city manager. And there's a premium on that for him. And so that's kind of where I think each of them are landing. As far as availability, Mr. Rosenthal is in the job market. He has separated from Pasco County, as mentioned. Mr. Perry is currently employed and would need to give notice where he is currently. I'm going to guess probably 30 days. That's the standard professional expectation of at least 30 days notice. He may be able to come sooner than that, but I'm going to say that at this point. And then Mr. Ventrisco would be available sooner than later, as he's also in the process of separating if he hasn't already. I think he did in the last 30 days. I haven't updated that yet. So I just wanted to let you know where I feel like they'll be salary-wise, what their status is and availability. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I did ask if any of them were finalists, what would be considered finalist in a job. And I was told no by everyone. So I think if there is anyone in this group that the mayor and council would like to meet and speak with further and learn more about and move forward in the process, that if that's the case, then we work to do that sooner than later, I think is important. So that said, Mayor, what I'd like to do is just debrief on particular candidates, however you'd like to do that. I do want to stick to the basics of their strengths for this position, as well as any concerns, excuse me, or weaknesses for this position. Excuse me. So I think last time we just went council member by council member and just each member shared their thoughts on each of the three candidates.
Okay. Anybody want to start?
Sure, I'll start if y'all want. I kind of echo what Mr. Bowden said. I'm not sure we found a candidate today at all. Looking at the experience that I would expect an executive of this city to have, I don't see it here. I don't want to be in a rush for rush's sake. I do think we need to do something. And of the three, Mr. Rosenthal was the best one we talked to today, I felt. But even so, looking at his experience and doing a little bit more background, I'm not sure I'm ready to move forward with the second interview with him either. So I think we need to get some more candidates. That's my opinion, and see where it goes from there, because I didn't see a solution to Lake City's problems in this. And two of the candidates had no clue what Lake City is or what they do. I mean, that you could tell from the conversation, at least Mr. Rosenthal, I did feel had done some decent background work. But there's some weaknesses in the candidate pool for sure. It's totally different than the last time when we had two finalists. I mean, they were head and shoulders above, and they had experience that would work here, and they had been city managers. I just don't see that here.
Okay. I've seen strengths and weaknesses in all three. I really didn't differentiate the three a whole lot because some had more management experience, some had other leadership, such as being a fire chief, and I think that's good leadership experience. We've been at this process a long time. I don't know how much more we will get by delaying it, but I'd rather get it right than not, just do it. And I don't know which one, two, or three of, unless we just brought all three of them in, because I don't want to get where we were last time and do two and then they didn't work out. So I guess my bottom line today is either just delay it a little bit, see if we can get some other candidates, or bring all three in and just try to pick one out of that three.
Well, go ahead, Mr.
Well, I agree with all the comments that you all have made thus far. But my thoughts is, I too feel strongly that we don't need to get in a rush just to fill the position. We need to be mindful and try and get the best candidate that we can to fill the position, because if we rush and find out after we made a selection that this may not be the ideal candidate, but then we run into difficulties there. But I'm of the opinion that I think we need to search a little deeper, a little further. Some of these candidates had some varying experiences, and some I think was better in some areas than other areas, but they're well-rounded qualified candidate, in my opinion. I just didn't see that or feel comfortable with that, with what I observed and based on the resume that we have here. So I think we need, it would be my recommendation that we hold off and continue to search until we feel comfortable that we have a candidate that we really want and one that fits our profile here.
Yeah, well, you all won't get an argument out of me, but Mr. Rosendorf was the better of the three candidates today, in my opinion. But we keep saying about getting them, we don't want to rush. There is an urgency for us to get a city manager. Mr. Dowell stepped down. We pretty much is a ship without a captain. So we got to start somewhere, and we need to start soon. So, I mean, Mr. Rosendorf was the better of the three. He's done his due diligence on Lake City. So that's just my opinion on the three candidates today.
I guess my suggestion at this point from what I just heard is that we don't bring anybody in from today, but this is Wednesday, and we address it again next month and see where we're all at that time too.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
So are there still applications being filled out? Are we still advertising the position?
Ms. Norlock?
Yes, Mayor, the job opportunity is still open. We're still doing outreach and talking with potential candidates.
Anybody else got any comments, questions? All right, well, I guess the consensus is we're not gonna move forward today, we'll just stay in
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
You got a comment from the public?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, so that's the one, council, at some point, I'm not asking that anybody rush to make a decision. I know how important having a city manager is. But at some point, we're gonna have to get off the pot or take a crack at what we need to do. You're not gonna find a perfect candidate. I think the time has passed if you think you're gonna get a Tom Brady. I think we missed that opportunity. We didn't respond fast enough as a council and as a mayor. You didn't swoop in and take your first draft pick as you should have, at least in my opinion. So you're gonna be left with a lot of brown leftwoods. You're gonna have to go with third and fourth string people. I don't think that you're gonna get a perfect candidate that will ideally fit what your agenda may be. But if you have a decent candidate, just like when you all were first elected to the diocese, people supported you, they worked with you, and they built you up to be the candidate that you are. At some point, you're gonna have to take a third, fourth string person and help them be developed to become a first string quarterback. That's just the position that you put yourselves in. Not telling you what to do, but don't sit on the council, but delaying the process. You got Paul saying that he wanna leave, and if a person don't wanna stay in a position, I don't think you should force the person to stay in a position, but this council needs to act. And there's ways that you can bring on and hire people, and it can be conditioned, and you can have other things set up, but we need to be moving. I think there's a lot of frustration within the community. There's a lot of frustration between the city and the county. You got two governments that's not working well with the current leadership. Mayor, you're the leader of this town, of the city. Some decisions have to be made, whether they're perfect or not, but some decisions have to be made. And we're not gonna get perfect, not in this world, not in this lifetime. So we need to take what we can get that's in our best interest, build on it, and develop whomever it may be, because no matter who you pick and you think is perfect, he still ain't gonna meet all the criteria that everybody wants. That's just my opinion. But we need to crack it off the pot, man. I think we've been playing around with this situation long enough. I think way back when we had Amy Fields, you say you weren't gonna let nobody make any major decisions. You were in a rush. You wanna get this done. And we've been jerking around this thing for I don't know how many months now. And like, if you delay it, we're going into another few months. And so the transparency, the lack of transparency continues to expand. The lack of trust in you and the council continues to expand because you're not holding up to your commitment that you said months ago. You told me personally several times it wasn't gonna take this long to find a city manager.
I didn't think it would.
But you keep delaying the process. Nobody's good enough. Who you looking for? Jesus ain't coming no time soon, I don't think.
We hope it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. If he ain't came with all the stuff that we deal with in my community, I don't think he's coming anytime soon.
Well, I think we need to think on it hard, and next Monday night, we need to address it again and see where we're at, see what, applications are there. And Ms. Norlock, did you have anything else you wanted to say today? Is she gone?
She's still connected.
I'm here, Mayor. No, what I'm hearing is that you are going to meet on Monday. You have a meeting on Monday, and at that time, you'll discuss the status of the city manager search and determine what next steps are. Is that correct?
I think that's where we're at today. I don't, what I'm hearing from at least two is that they're not ready to make a decision today.
Okay, all
So,
right.
or even bring anybody in. So, like I say,
Okay.
everybody needs to sleep on it, make a hard decision, and let's see where we're at.
Okay, that's fine, Mayor. I'll wait to hear from you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to wherever it is. Discussion possible action, interim manager. We have the letter from Mr. Dow. Mr. Warren wanted to speak on this.
I kind of want to hear where y'all going first before I speak on it. Before you make a decision, I kind of want to hear it discussed.
Mr. Bowden?
Well, same as Mr. Warren.
Okay.
I don't want to speak.
Well, I've spoken with Mike Williams. He has recovered quite a bit from his back surgery that took him out before. And he said he would be willing to come back and do the interim for a short period of time till we can get further along. He did say that he could not do it till a week from tomorrow. And I spoke with Mr. Dial and he said he could stay till that time. So if anybody else has got any suggestions, I'd like to hear them.
Well, I have no objection to that, Mayor. I can't think of anyone else currently on staff that I feel that would be willing to or able to step up to the plate and do as good a job, the job that we need to be doing. This is a very demanding role.
Yes, it is.
Very demanding. And my thanks goes out to Mr. Dow for being willing to step up and serve for the period of time that he has done.
And I agree with that. He's had some health issues and his wife and all, and I appreciate the hard work he's done and still run utilities. So we greatly appreciate his role and what he's done for us.
Well, again, it's nothing personal against nobody, but Mr. Williams, like I say, he have left us. He had health issues. Mr. Dollar, again, it's no personal. Again, my hat's off for you stepping up, and whatever reason you step down, that's your business. But again, we're right back to where ship without a captain is full.
I agree.
So, Mr. Williams, again, he's coming in for whatever short period of time he's gonna be here. This guy that interviewed today, he can't be no worse. If he don't work out, at least we have the city manager. But Mr. Williams, we know he's just gonna be temporary.
Okay. Mr. Lucker wants to speak now.
Thank you, Your Honor. Still the Columbia County Job. I just have one question, actually, to when did you speak to Mr. Williams about this job?
In the last couple of days.
The last couple of days? But that would be like before yesterday? I'm just trying to.
It's been the last 2 days. I don't know. I've been running like crazy.
There's other, we have a retired fire chief, and I know he could probably do the job, Frank Hormel.
Right.
Hold on a second, this is not working. Yeah. Thank you very much. I know, so you said that, just so that anybody can hear it, they put in that you spoke to Mr. Williams in the last couple of days, but you're not sure what day.
Right.
Okay. And, there's other people out there that could possibly do the job. I know Frank Armahol ran the fire department for a long time. He's familiar with the operations of Lake City as well as anybody is. He's liked by everybody. Have you reached out to anybody else in the community that could do the job as interim city manager? We know that Mike Williams can do it now because you spoke to him and he said he could start a week later. But clearly the city now may have other options that you might want to explore. So my question to the city council, I guess, and you is, would you be willing to explore those options, whether you want to go back to the guy that was already here? And of course, one thing you might want to consider is, did he really do an effective job when he was here? You just got somebody there treading water until you get dragged together and hire somebody. Thank you very much. That's my question. You're gonna look for anybody else. This is the same thing that happened last time.
Right.
When Mike Williams came in at the 12th hour, didn't show up, and then you have the guy that wants to, it has nothing to do with Mr. Dial, fill in, and he can't start for another week. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, council, what y'all want to do?
The other people want to talk, man. You gonna just skip everybody?
You know, I signed up, man.
You signed up.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I am as a citizen concerned on the process. I remember when Mike Williams came in, it was you who indicated that you had reached out to him, you heard that he wanted to consider and was kind of didn't understand how it all took place. And now we're at this position again, and Mike Williams name come out your mouth. It's almost as if, Mr. Mayor, perception is reality. It's almost as if that you alone is deciding that, well, Mr. Williams was the choice when he came on board. And as Stu said, there's other people in the community that may be interested and is capable of doing this. And I don't feel good about that process.
Well, I mean, I wasn't gonna consult with other council people about it at this meeting, so I reached out to him, and because I knew he was doing better, and he had been there before, and that's my recommendation. There's 3 other people can make any recommendation they want to make today.
But I'm just trying to make the point, Mayor, that there are other people, and if you have decided that he's going to be the one, and that's your choice, that can be the other members of the council choice. But it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel good. It's something, you know, sometimes how you feel about a process got something to do with how you feel about the decision that's being made. Now, all I'm suggesting to you is that for another week or 2, you know, you can check around and see if there's anybody else in the community capable of being the interim for a short period of time. But more importantly, I think between now and Monday, each one of you can do some research. And if Mr. Rose, if the second gentleman was the one that came across the best, then at least consider him for an interview. If you can't consider him for an interview, then I don't think you can consider anybody for an interview. Then I may as well just start all over again, you know. And when I say start again, I'm going to start over without Mrs. Norlock, because I don't think Mrs. Norlock has been bringing the type of quality candidates that we can get. And I agree with Mr. Warren. We're at the point now that I don't think there's going to be there's no superstar candidate out there just waiting to come in. And so we need to start somewhere. And if you want to bring all 3 of these in and interview them and shake it out, and just bring the top one in and interview him and see how it stands. But to keep putting it off, I think it's a problem, you know. And I think that going back to Mr. Williams without considering some other people, I think send the wrong message.
Thank you. Council.
Now, I don't know what your problem is. You just not gonna just overlook me, and I asked you that when you had the process. I want to
I thought
talk.
you did speak on this.
Okay, Mayor.
Okay.
So here's the issue, Mayor. Every time we come up with this lack of transparency, you folks start this all behind the scene politicking and picking your people. I don't understand how Mike Williams, when Mike Williams left here, it was a very contentious situation between Mike Williams and the predominantly black community and other folks as well. Why would you bring somebody back that you know that's gonna bring nothing but contention back to this city council meetings and everything else?
Because I don't have a lot of other choices.
Mayor, you cannot, Mr. Bowman, let you do it. If I'm talking, at least give me the courtesy at the podium to finish my thoughts and to finish my questions.
I thought it was. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I thought he was the most valuable person I had since Sunday afternoon when I found this out. I contacted him because we've got a very short time to make a decision. And hopefully, I was hoping the date would be better and we'd pick somebody to interview next week and move forward. I never planned on this being a long-term thing. Right now, I'd be fine with bringing all three in to interview and see if we can get somebody out
But
of there.
Darren, let's do that because I'm for one, and I get the rest of the community up here. We're not gonna do another Mike Williams show. And let me tell you why, Mayor. You said that you don't want to rush to make a decision, but you rushed and made a decision to choose Mike.
I had to make a decision.
You rushed and made a decision to bring his name up there.
Yes, I did.
Right, you rushed and made that decision. But when it's time to get somebody permanent, you're not willing to rush and make a good decision. Find a serious problem with that, Mayor. There's time on the clock left. There's time on the clock left. Either you can keep Guy here if he's willing to stay here another week, you keep him here until we go through the interview process. Or we can find more time to find somebody else besides Mike Williams. Mike Williams, in my opinion, and most people in the opinion of my community, did not serve as a good city manager while he was here as an interim. You may like him because he's your friend, and Dr. Barry and some other folks may like him, and some of the peanut gallery may want him here. But I keep telling everybody that this population of the Lake City community is about 50-50 now. And so people can't continue to pick people who they want that only represent one half of the population. It's not fair. And Mike did not deliver on the other half of the population. Besides Amy Fields delivering, the only person that has half delivered as interim city manager to some extent, and I disagree with him, and I called him personally on some of the things I disagree with him, is Paul Dowd. But man, Mike Williams ain't gonna float for this community, at least the community which I live in. And so if you want another drama show, another contentious moment within the city council and how it may want to be, if you bring Mike Williams in, that's what you're asking for there. So show some leadership, look at some other candidates, or make a decision to bring in some folks with some interviews. Going backwards in time is not the best interest for this community. We need to be moving forward, not backwards in time there. And I don't understand why you, as the mayor and the council, can't see that. It's time to move forward. All with Amy Fields here, all you all were talking about, how bad we need to move forward, how bad we need to get a city manager, and all of it has been nothing but a smokescreen to put other people in a position that's not in the best interest of this community as a whole. And we're tired of it, man.
All right, Council, what you want to do?
Mr. Mayor, Mike was here. He went through the background check. I thought he did a good job in the 4 months he was here. I think in several areas we moved forward quite a bit. I would make a motion that we bring him back as the interim city manager.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, discussion by council.
I had no problem with Mike Williams. He was here before.
Sure you did.
I think he did in my opinion, he did a good job. But again, going back, I just don't feel, and I'll state for the record what I said about these three candidates. I just would like to look at some other candidates. I just feel that we can possibly do better than what I see in here. I don't feel comfortable with these three on around at this juncture. I don't. And I think a citizen deserves the best that we has to offer. And And we have a obligation to provide that for them if we can, but I just don't see the best in what we see here. I'm not taking anything away from any of these candidates. But at the position that we're in now, I think this would be the motion is the best option for us.
Anybody else?
Well, again, nothing personal against Mr. Williams, but we studied putting this on when the guy on Don, he was the best candidate for the day of these three candidates that we have for the job. Why not put him, bring him in, interview him, and go from there? But going back to Mike Williams, I don't get that.
Yeah, I just want to make, when you make decisions, know what you're signing up for now, Mayor. Know what you're signing up for.
Ms. Actually, call it roll.
Do we want to put an effective date on the,
Yeah,
This is a motion for Mike Williams, is that what you're on?
yes.
as interim city manager? I'm asking is there
Beginning
an effective date?
Thursday, whatever that date is.
I'm fine with that date.
April 7th.
7th, okay.
Is there anything else we need to address in the motion, Fred?
We can address it now, or we can do it in a subsequent motion, the terms and conditions. It's presumed that it would be under the same terms and conditions as the last appointment, but we can address it now by amendment or the new motion after this.
I would add that to that motion.
And I second that.
To have the same terms and conditions as last time, or you want to discuss them further?
The same as last time.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, that's all the business we have for today. We will meet again Monday afternoon.
Yeah, with, while we have a chance to make sure, while this clerk is here, we need to follow up on the skateboard, we need to follow up on the money y'all promised to give to the, so I would say to get money too, and a process in place. Process in place to start having applications again. Okay.
Wait a minute now.
Wait, yeah, make sure she understands.
Oh, really? Yeah, that was a good one. I think it's skateboard. And a update on the
Yes, we're done.
We're waiting on